Hey guys, Mr. Happy here, and today I wanted to bring you a special video. I wasn't sure if I was going to do a video on this, but I saw it on Reddit, and of course I had to go try it myself because it's definitely an interesting way of approaching this fight. So as you can see, we're doing Ramuh Extreme, new fight, patch 2.3. I actually think it's one of the harder primals. Very simple fight, but I think it's definitely one of the harder ones, especially for party finder groups, because it does take quite a bit of coordination. But there's a strategy that was posted on Reddit, and summoners, of course, have been doing these kind of strategies for a while now, and that's to have Titan-Egi tank Ramuh. Now, I'm sure we've all seen videos Titan-Egi tanking Ifrit, Titan, Garuda. I know I've seen my fair share of those videos, but this is probably the fight where Titan is the most potent of any of the primal fights, and there's a good reason. So if you have a summoner stack all vid accessories and they have pretty good gear on their left-hand side, you know, at least some weathered soldiery gear, maybe some of the new CT gear, and at least an item level 100 weapon, you can get a Titan-Egi up to like 11.5k HP. I think he has right now, 11.5k. And that's a lot. First of all, it's a lot of HP. That's warrior, that's like full I-10 warrior kind of HP. Now, on top of that, you have sustain, great healing on him, but the biggest thing is all of the Eggies have some form of AoE damage mitigation. And because all of Ramuh's auto attacks and his shock strikes, which are supposed to be the big tank killers, they're all AoE, he gets a massive amount of damage reduction, and he basically takes what would be like a normal hit, like a Mountain Buster, or any sort of conal tank swap move that's supposed to come. And so if you just go with 6 DPS and 2 healers, one of them being a summoner with the Titan-Egi, you just have that summoner go Titan-Egi, pop Rouse, Spur, and Kindle right at the beginning of the fight. If your DPS are really well geared, they may have to hold off for a second, so watch the aggro bar on the left-hand side. But he can tank the whole thing just fine. Just have your healers focus target him, give him a Stone Skin and a Loquium once in a while, and he really doesn't need a lot of healing until the end of the fight. And then, of course, you just have 6 DPS, so the whole fight goes really, really fast. I mean, you can see we didn't even get to our 3rd Chaotic Strike. We were nowhere close to our 3rd Chaotic Strike when we pushed into this phase. In this phase, we don't even come close to getting 10 increased judgments. So it just allows you to focus more on dealing with Chaotic Strikes, on dealing with Thunderstorm or Thunderstruck, whatever you call it. I thought it was called Thunderstruck for some reason. Let me watch this right now and see if, at least when you get hit, if it's called Thunderstruck. All right, I can't see because it's not targeting me. But it's actually a really cool strategy. The only problem I have with cheese strategies like this becoming sort of the go-to strategy, there's no tanks here. And I know there are players out there who only have tank classes leveled and they're not interested in DPSing or healing. So I will say this, if you are going to do this strategy and you have a tank friend who would like to tank it, but you guys are bent on doing this strategy, he doesn't have anything else he could play, or if he just wants to work on his achievement, you know, if he just wants to come along and all he has is tank, let him come and Sword Oath and not Defiance. You know, don't tell tanks, no, you can't come because you're not a DPS. Tanks can do some alright DPS if you give them the time. And really, you went from 2 tanks and 4 DPS to 6 DPS, and you won't bring like a tank that's in Sword Oath or not Defiance. That does pretty decent DPS. Don't be rude to tanks on your server in the Party Finder just because of this. If one asks you for a spot, give it to them. It's already being made very easy, and the tank doesn't have to do much anyway. Now, there are still a few risks that you take with this strategy. Obviously, if Titan dies, the fight's over. There's no tank swaps, and bringing an extra tank can actually stall out the end of the fight, which is really the only place where Titan may be at risk, whether it be because of a healer getting Rolling Thunder, like you see on the screen right now. Actually, I don't think a healer had it. Yeah, no, it was our Bard who had it. But if a healer or 2 healers get a Rolling Thunder, at least getting a tank that grabs 3 orbs and slowly stacks up the healing debuff, that can buy you some time towards the end of the fight. So having the backup tank can definitely help Party Finder groups on top of that. Of course, the bigger problem is if the summoner dies. I'd say it's easier for the summoner to die than it is for Titan to die, despite Titan being the tank. So you really got to make sure that that summoner is just off in his own world, in a corner, safe, keep him away from as many mechanics as possible. If he gets targeted by Chaotic Strike or Rolling Thunder, obviously he has to interact. If he gets targeted with Thunderstruck, just nobody near him. Give him his space. Let him do his thing. Summoner just uses Sustain, Rouse, and Spur, and Kindle every time they're available. And the fight's just significantly easier. On all honesty, I think they'll fix this. I don't necessarily think they should, though. It's fun things like this that I do miss in MMOs. Being able to do these miscellaneous strategies that aren't your traditional tank, healer, DPS kind of deal. Sure, it still is that, but you have one of your DPS using one of his underutilized pets to tank a boss that, you know, tanks can get pretty nervous doing the mechanics in this fight. Wow, I just got hit by a thunderstorm there, or Thunderspark, yeah, wow. Don't pay attention to my bad scholar playing. We just needed another healer, so I elected. Anyway, I like it. I got the book. I got the Law of Levin. It's not that great of a book, though. I'd probably still use the Allegan one. So, that's really all I have to say about this fight. I'd say this is the go-to party finder setup, though. I'd say 1 tank, 5 DPS, 2 healers. The 1 tank sort of being a backup for the end of the fight, because Titan does start taking a lot of damage. He starts using Shock Strike a lot more often. The occasional Thunderstruck or Thunderstorm he'll get hit by definitely adds up, and especially the Thunderbolts here at the end of the fight. He does take a lot more damage. So having that backup tank that's in full DPS mode and running around collecting orbs just so your DPS can focus on DPSing, I definitely think for party finder groups, doing this with 1 tank on the offside is a favorable way of approaching it until it gets patched, at least. Hopefully they don't do that, but a lot of people are doing this right now, and it definitely makes Ramuh one of the easier primals. I actually think Ramuh's one of the harder primals because of how much coordination, at least for party finder groups. He's definitely one of the harder ones. But with this, definitely go out there, get yourself some loot. The weapons that drop from Ramuh actually drop quite often. We got 3 in a pretty short amount of time. We just did a few runs like this, and I know before I even joined the night before, they did 4 runs and they got 3 weapons in a row. We got like 2 Levin orbs in these runs too for the barding or the housing item. So get out there. Let me know what you think of the strategy. If you've tried it, give me your experiences. If you have any sort of recommendations to anyone trying the strategy, please leave it in the comments below. I've only done this a few times, so if any summoner or any healer has any sort of recommendations, definitely throw that in the comment section. Be sure to like, favorite, subscribe, and share. And until next time, guys, take care.